The language of the translation of the Yoga Vasishta seems rather cerebral at times. And this really has to be balanced with an understanding of the intense emotional convictions that are involved. We can talk about reality being notional, and this seems like an interesting intellectual idea, but it's like dreams. We don't really have a problem with saying, well, something is only a dream. It didn't really happen. But that's not how you feel at the time. Dreams are particularly acute emotionally. You might experience sheer terror if it's a nightmare. You might experience intense eroticism or shame, embarrassment, anxiety, delight. The emotions experienced in dreams are very, very sharp, which is quite impressive for something which doesn't really exist. And this is how we are. This is how we are. We're actually not so much a bundle of notions as a bundle of emotions. The ocean of notions is an ocean of emotion. So when we're examining the notional nature of things, we really need to look at the very deep emotional investment that we have in these notions. Otherwise, the self-inquiry is just going to become an intellectual exercise. We have total conviction in our notions. We have total conviction in the existence of an external physical world. Even though the scientists will tell us otherwise, the physicists will tell us otherwise, we still believe with total conviction in the reality of a solid external world and a me here that's somehow experiencing all that. And we'll bring lots of evidence to back it up. The point I'm making here though is, look at your conviction in that belief. All we can ever have is belief. If you believe there's a material external world out there and there's a me experiencing it, well, look into how we perceive it through the senses. At some point you'll find there is a massive discontinuity, a gap between what is out there and what is in here and what I understand is out there. You might even conclude that there's no way of knowing what is directly out there. And if there's no way of knowing what is directly out there, how can we even say there is something directly out there? So you need to look into all that. But you also need to look into the conviction with which you hang on to that belief that there is something out there. Because that conviction is what is referred to as the egosense. The conviction that there is something out there and that there is a me here experiencing it, either directly or indirectly, either accurately or inaccurately. These are the convictions of the egosense. And I think we can say that they're peculiar to human beings as far as we know. The elephants and chariots which float in the sky are but the cloud formations which are cloud. The worlds that seem to exist are similarly nothing but the Supreme Self or Brahman. The cause of sorrow is therefore the acceptance of the unreal as the real, which arises from misunderstanding or deluded understanding of the real. So it's this conviction that there's something out there and something here experiencing it which is called the egosense. It's this conviction which is the cause of suffering, of sorrow. The truth is that on account of the egosense, the ignorant person experiences the existence of the world within it, though in reality he is the infinite consciousness. The ignorant person experiences the existence of the world within it. Well, it's even worse than that nowadays. We actually experience ourselves in the external world. We've moved so far away from ourselves that we think that we're actually moving around in this external world. Whereas I think previously our ancestors would have experienced things rather differently. They didn't actually have the same distinction between what we would call the imagination and physical reality. Our ancestors probably experienced a greater sense of intimacy between themselves and their environment. But nowadays we make a very clear distinction. Just as a firebrand, when it is whirled around, creates illusory forms in space, whereas the only reality is the single spark of fire at the end of the stick, even so all these diverse forms are but the apparent appearance of the one indivisible Brahman, or infinite consciousness. So there's some apparent movement going on. It's the attention darting backwards and forwards. It keeps revisiting places and therefore builds up memories which give rise to notions of time and so on. There's all sorts of ways of analysing this. But the darting attention is giving us the illusion of a coherent, stable world. Let all this, the beginning and the end, the rising and falling, space and time, exist as it pleases. One should rest in the inner peace. The inert water is able to sustain the ship that carries a load across the water, and thus overcome the obstacle created by itself, the water. Even so, the inert world itself enables a man to cross this apparent world appearance. That which is created by thought can also be destroyed by thought. Hence, attain fearlessness by realizing that there is neither I nor the other. For nothing called I is discovered when one investigates the body, mind, etc. Abandon the pursuit of pleasure, engage yourself in inquiry, and be devoted to self-effort. And establish yourself in your own awareness once again, and in this way enhance your sense of being at the expense of your investment in delusional notions.